Hello everyone, it is Christine here and I'm back for a two-part video. It'll all be in one video for you, but I've filmed it in two parts, and in fact there'll be an extra little bonus bit at the end for those of you that like to take a walk with me and a swim with Travis the Labrador, and it actually links in really well to this piece. But I want to share my plans for the current prompt for Roxy's Journal of Stitchery, where we have the prompt of lazy summer days. So I've got a second piece, which you'll see after this one, which is focusing on lazy summer days of my childhood. And then I wanted to also do a piece that was a watery scene, because for me, something about lazy summer days, it could either be a beach scene or a pond or a lake or a river scene. And so for both of my pieces, I'm planning to use designs out of this Briggs & Co. 1800s embroidery designs, which we're using for our Stitchalong community Stitchalong project that I am hosting. And so for those of you that are part of that project, I'm suggesting we do this one for this coming week. So we've done our week one, which was the lovely sweet little teacup. Have I got my teacup handy? That's my version of the teacup, and we're starting to see lots of lovely versions of the teacup emerging. And so for this week I'm proposing we do this design, which is a gorgeous watery scene with a swan, a bulrush, another water plant, and a water iris. Now I'm not planning to include the water iris in my version, just because I've got to fit it onto my field notes page, but you can obviously do that. So I'll include below this video which of the pages of the Briggs catalogue to find this one on, and I'll also put this picture onto my community posts page for my channel here, and I'll include a link to it just so you don't have to go through the whole catalogue. You can get to it much more easily. And so all I've done is traced that image of this beautiful swan and the beautiful water plants, the water, and then I've hand drawn on a couple of butterflies, because there was actually a few little rust spots. You can see one down here which I'll cover up with my stitching, and there was a little rust spot up here, so I drew a butterfly over it. So what I'm using is a lovely linen, it would have been a linen placemat. It's got some additional beautiful cutwork design at the other end, which I'll be able to save and use for something else. You can see it's already coming a bit away, so it was probably obviously a well-used mat as well. But I thought it kind of had that lovely watery, shady feel of summer. And then I thought the way I'd bring summer in is using a yellow fabric underneath to show through where the cutwork is. So it's almost like the sun is filtering through the trees. And just as I say that, the sun comes out from behind the clouds and the sun is filtering onto my workbench, as you can see here. So hopefully that doesn't disturb you too much. But it kind of fits well with the theme. So I just think this is a beautiful scene. I think it's going to be really lovely to stitch, and I'll probably just do the stitching. I don't think I'm going to do any words. I could always kind of put some labels in for what the plants are. I can always reserve that possibility, but I think for this piece. And so we'll be stitching this piece together this coming Saturday. So we had our first stitch along session last night, because I'm filming this on Sunday. I'll probably post this tonight, I think Sunday night Australian time. We'll see. Depends how long it takes to load. And then in the second part of this video you'll see my second page and my plans for that page, which I can give you the very quickest of looks. So it's all focused on lazy summer days of my childhood, and I'm going to have 3 stitched images, 2 of which also come from this Briggs catalogue. So if you decide for our stitch along that you don't want to do this image, you could think about doing one of the other images I've selected, or as always you can pick your own out, or you can just come and join us for the stitch along, bring your own stitching, or just come for the chat. So I thought I might pick out what threads I'm going to use for this. I've got my Snuggle Pot and Cuddle Pie bowl here, my hexagonal bowl. A cheerio to the lovely Catherine from K3N, who mentioned my hexagon bowl and my snuggle pot and cuddle pie in one of her recent videos. That was very sweet of you, Catherine. I'm such a big fan of you. And so I thought I might use this one I got at the op shop in Bright. It's really got a lovely sheen to it, so I thought it might be nice to mix it in. I'm thinking of using sewing cottons for this one to keep it quite fine. So let's just grab a few possibilities out. For the little butterflies up here, I thought I might use some colourful colours. So we might grab out a few pinks and purples for the butterflies. Got this one from the lovely Kathy from Kate Creations. For the bulrush, which is usually a brownie to a darker brownie colour, I'll use that brown, I think. Just checking you can see, yes. For the swan, I do have a blacky crochet thread, so it's whether I use that for outlining, but I think I'm more inclined to use a cotton, just to keep it sort of finer looking. And I can always sort of whip it or something if I need to reinforce it at all, but I just want to kind of play around with different weights of things, because on my teacup I use crochet cottons. For this I think I'll appreciate a bit more fineness in the detailing. And so then I'll use some different greens. I'm just picking out some of my threads that have a bit of a sheen to them. I think that will be nice. These are cottons, but they're just the way they're wound, I think, gives them a lovely sheen. So yeah, there's some nice greens that I can kind of mix in for both. Probably both of these can have a mix of greens. I thought maybe some little flashes of yellow. Again, this is from the lovely Kathy. And for the water, I've got a few different weights. See, this one's getting to be a tiny, it's a little bit thicker. It's a number 12 Aurifil. But then I've got this lovely variegated bluey one, which could be good as well. Got this little vintage Mercer cotton, super sheen. I love my vintage threads. And then I've just got this other vintage black one on a little reel, but I'll keep that there because I might want some more slightly. That one's not as sheeny and not as thin as this one, so it might be nice to use that for a few of the little feathers. I'll put my crochet thread back into my little crochet drawers. So yeah, I think that's going to be my sort of selection of threads that I will use for that. But yeah, anyone is welcome to join either for all of the Stitch Along or just for one episode, or if you're struggling to work out what you want to do, you might want to check out the video where I shared this whole catalogue. It's all free, it's public domain, you just can't sell it obviously, so don't sell it. If you stitch with it, you can share it. Yeah, it's for people to make use of. I love that this design's a bit reminiscent of the design that's on the cover of the catalogue. I just love this page, love looking at it. So I won't do any stitching with you today. I just thought I'd give you the idea for this, and then there's a bit more tracing and other things that I will show you in the next part of this video, where I will put together my lazy summer days of childhood piece, and then at the very end of the video I'll cut in some footage of our lovely walk after lunch today at our local botanic gardens. I don't think they're called a botanic gardens, but they're kind of like that. It's in an old quarry, but it's just a beautiful natural sort of wonderland, and Travis had a little dip in the pond, and the pond was very reminiscent of it. There weren't any swans there today, but there were lots of other water birds. So I thought, isn't that perfect? Just as I was tracing this before we went for the walk, and then we went to the walk and I went, I'll have to take some footage. So I'll put that in at the end for those that just want to see the stitching. You can obviously switch off at that point, but for those that would like to say hello to Travis, stay tuned for that. So in my next episode, on the Saturday episode when we do our stitch along, I'll be stitching this piece, and meanwhile I'll work on my other piece, which is the lazy summer days of my childhood, and I'll share an update on that at some point. Thanks everyone, and just stay tuned for the next part of this video. I've got a few fabrics on the desk in front of me. I've been toying with what I'm going to have as my sort of background or underlying piece. I was thinking about this one because it does kind of evoke a sense of that sort of real brightness of summer, but I also really love the imagery, and I love that these almost look like they're kind of pressed onto the fabric. And then I had the idea, similar to what I had done with my butterfly piece here, or one of my butterfly pieces, to also play with some layering with fabric. Because when we were working on the butterfly prompt, I looked out this lovely, almost slightly sort of gauzy fabric that has this beautiful embossed butterfly design on it. I'm just going to check where you are on camera. Yes, you can see what I can see, which is good. And I thought, oh, wouldn't it be nice to overlay this fabric over the top of the this underlying fabric, which is a beautiful linen pillowcase. And then to do some stitching in the little sort of voids. So what I am thinking in terms of my theme for this piece and the sort of the ideas that I will evoke in my stitchery is lazy summer days of my childhood, because I thought, wouldn't it be nice through this field notes journal to capture some of my memories of my childhood, so that at some point, if I can't remember my memories of my childhood, I'll have this lovely field notes to reference to. And so some of the memories of childhood summers, and they are very sort of dear memories, I think, in Australia, yeah, and I think overseas as well. For your summer, you take a big break. So we sort of, would finish school in December, and then we wouldn't be back to school until very late, sort of January, early February. So it was a beautiful long stretch of weeks and warm weather. My uncle had a farm, and we would often go blackberry picking. So one of my memories is fingers and mouth stained with wild blackberries. I'd often be sitting either on the front nature strip, or we had a beautiful park behind us. Mum and Dad still live in the same house with that beautiful park. And so I'd always be making daisy chains with my friends, and they'd be around my head, they'd be around my neck, I'd have them around my hands and ankles. So that's definitely a memory. And then I think we've all done it, picked those dandelions and had those dandelion puffs, blowing up and floating outwards as we blew the puffs, and they disseminated into the air. So they're three little summer lazy day memories that I think I will capture in this piece. So the size of my pages, because I'm using this comic book card, is about this size. And so I started thinking, how would I use the fabric? So I could either use it and arrange sort of the butterflies so that I keep it square with the sort of the running of the fabric. I might just stand up while I'm doing this bit at the sort of at the higher level. So I could either sort of have them so that they would be sort of straight across in the fabric line, but then I thought it might be a bit more interesting to put them on a little bit of an angle, just to get a bit of a different look to them. So the butterflies were kind of sitting slightly at a different angle. So something along these lines. I'd probably still just move it a little bit. I still want to have both butterflies in the mix. That's pretty good. I might just angle this a smidgeroo across. It's just kind of, adjusting it so that I'll just bring this down a bit so you can see the top of it as well. So I want to have that butterfly. I want to have that bit of the sort of meandering butterfly path. Just trying to kind of angle it so that it's in the perfect spot. I probably still want to have that one still a bit over that way. Maybe I'll even angle it a bit more like, that's pretty good. I've got that whole one. I've got that butterfly and that butterfly, that butterfly, that butterfly, that butterfly. I've got most of the path in on this side. It will just be folded slightly over. It'll be right on the edge there. So I reckon that's pretty good. So what I might do is get my friction marker And I'll actually just put, this will just be my guide so that when I'm stitching I know sort of where my cardboard will fold approximately. Not doing it that well because I'm kind of tracing over, but something along these lines. And so the friction marker is heat erasable. And this won't matter because this is actually outside of the area that will be folded over anyway, but it will just give me a bit of a guide as to where I will be looking to have my stitching zone. Yep, so that's pretty good, I think. So that gives me my broad sort of a rectangle. So what I'm then thinking is that I'll probably put in one section lazy days of my childhood, so maybe in this section. So I can probably write that now. Probably should actually do a little practice run of it first. Back to the drawing board. Lazy summer. Now, how far across am I going to be able to go? Will I get days? I might. It's very helpful that this fabric is nice and gauzy and I can actually see through it without needing even a light box. Lazy summer days. So yeah, that would fit there of my childhood. Could even have that sitting down a bit further, couldn't I? Let's just try. I'm going to just try writing it on here. I'm going to be brave. Let's try it. Let's just get my page straightish. I can always erase it. Lazy. What did I actually originally have? Lazy summer days of my childhood. That's what I did have. Lazy. Oops. Fabric's moving a bit. Lazy summer. So I think I will go down to the next line. Days of my, just get it straight again. I suppose it doesn't really matter, it's kind of floating in the air, isn't it? Of my childhood. You might see I'm wearing my Peter Rabbit pyjamas, so lazy spring days of my, or evenings of my adulthood. Saturday night spent in my pyjamas, eagerly awaiting our stitch along. So yeah, I reckon that's an okay start for that text, which I will stitch on. And if I did decide I wanted to erase it, I can just use my iron to erase that. But it's good to have that there. And then with these little texty bits, I'm either thinking I'll put them as just little, I'll do them on the printer and just have little fabric labels for them, or I might have like little ribbons flying off, but that will probably be a secondary consideration. For my actual images to go with this, I was having a look through the 1800s catalogue of embroidery designs, which are all free and public domain to use, and we're using them for our Stitch Along project. So I'll include a link to the video where I shared this whole catalogue. There's a few daisy ones. There's this one, but I think it's going to be a bit too big to fit into one of these sections, because I'm thinking I'll have one picture in each of these sections. So when we look at it through the fabric, it's just going to be a bit too big and probably a bit too detailed. But I love these ones because they're originally for smoking caps, and there's a fabulous little description that goes with them, which I shared in the video. So I'll just pop that back into my little collection of ones that we might do as part of the stitch along. But then there's this other one, which is large daisy and ferns, and it actually resembles the actual little daisies that I used to make my little daisy chains with a bit more, because it's got more of the petals on it. So I was thinking potentially it could be good there. So I guess I need to think about which of the designs do I want to have where. I might actually put the dandelion puffs floating skyward here, because then they'll be higher in the piece. And so then I might put the daisies over here, because they'll both be sort of partially white stitched. And then the blackberries can be over here as a more colour intense, I think. So if I'm going to have it somewhere here, I'll just line my border that I've kind of drawn up with it. And then I could potentially have, because I'm not going to put the fern in, I think I'll just have the actual daisy design like that. Let's see if I've got that in my tape back up. I was downstairs with my tape, but I'm not sure whether I have brought it up or not. But that's okay. We'll just hold the fabric sturdy if we don't have our tape handy. Sometimes I wonder what I do with things on my desk. I've probably just moved it around somewhat somewhere. Let me just have a quick look over here. Quick fossick to the right. No, I can't easily see it, but I've got another way that I can actually attach it down. But let's first of all just work out exactly where we want it to sit in that section. Probably about like that. And so what I can potentially do is I could just put a dob of my Yoo-hoo glue, because we know that comes off the fabric quite easily. If I just put a little of my Yoo-hoo glue down there, I think I'll want to actually put this so that the design starts about there. And comes, because I just want to get up to this daisy up the top, and because I really only need the edge of my page to be about there. Hopefully you can see what I can see, so I'm just going to use this just to help affix my fabric down, and I might just do the other on the other side. I can always reprint this page for my little collection if I need, but I think the fabric will come fine off the paper. This will just give it a good little temporary hold. I probably don't even need to put it up the top. And again, I'm just giving myself the guide to stitch by. If I was better at drawing by hand, I'm sure I could actually just freehand this, but I'm not that good at drawing. So that's why I'm going with this approach. Now, how and where do I want to? So I'm thinking the petals will probably end up being lazy daisies unless I do sort of long stitch petals. But again, this is just giving me the broad design rather than trying to give myself everything. Does help with the shape of the leaves because they are quite distinctive leaves. Got these sort of little can't quite see what that is in the design over there. Okay, that's another leaf there with that little stabbery design. And then it's coming down to sort of another little unfurled daisy. I'm drawing these more like lazy daisies, whereas the design didn't kind of draw them fully as petals. It was more just a in and out sort of, I'll show you what I mean. It's more drawing them just like that rather than as individual petals, but I think I'll be stitching them as individual petals. So I'll do them this way. But yeah, if you had a thicker fabric, you could definitely be doing this on, and in fact the centre's there, so my petals will be coming right down. Yeah, you could do this on glass and trace through if, with the light behind, or with a screen behind, or a light box if you happen to have a light box. And then we're going to come up here. Going to have another daisy. Quite nice. I like to have threes of things, so that sort of satisfies my eye. Threes or odd numbers. So I think I'm pretty happy with that as enough of a base sort of design to start with for my little representing the making of daisy chains. I could have done an actual daisy chain, but I think that's quite nice as a little base. And so yeah, it peels away beautifully. It's not left any residue, and this hasn't been damaged by that. So that will be our little daisy stitchery. And then we were going to put our blackberries over here. So this is another one from that same amazing catalogue. And I was looking at a more detailed blackberry design. There's a beautiful corner piece or a larger cluster piece. But I think I like this one, and I just love the little nibbled out leaves. I think that's very sweet. So I'll work out where I want this one to sit. Is it all going to fit? I could always shrink the designs down, or I can just sort of slightly, I guess I can twist this design a little bit. It doesn't actually have to sit in the exact direction that it is on the printout, does it? So we might want to put it a bit more to the side, because I've got a bit more area over that way, don't I? And maybe I won't have that blackberry up the top. Unless I twist it right around. How's that going to look? Is it meant to... You know how things sometimes have a bit of a sense of direction? I wonder if I turn it the other way. That's a bit better, I think. And that's all fitting in almost. Almost. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. So again, I will put a bit of my trusty Yoo-hoo glue, which is acid free as well, which is great, so safe for paper and fabric, and washes out as well, but it doesn't really leave, I haven't found it leaves much of a residue anyway on the fabric. Might even put a little bit down the bottom, just make my job easy. But yeah, if I'm doing it on the window, I generally use some tape and sometimes some of those little embroidery clips as well. I'll just put a bit up here as well, just to hold it flat up to the top. Okay, and then we'll grab our friction marker again, and we'll get tracing. So again, some of you out there, I'm sure you can draw by hand confidently, so you could definitely go to town and do that. But I do like to give others who might be feeling a little bit less confident about hand drawing just a bit of a guide of how you can do that. And this is just such a fabulous resource. I'm just so excited by these images, and knowing that they're from the 1800s just makes them, I think it makes them extra special in my eyes to be able to be bringing some of that back, those designs. I've been kind of pondering on the people that actually drew them, and how amazing for them to think that people are using them even now. I wonder if they had any concept that their designs might survive on. I do just want to have a peek what the design is looking like under there. So it's got that, and then some other little. Might get my blackberries drawn in first because they're quite easy to see. I'm just trying to make sure I don't put my head under the camera or anything. That'd be the sort of silly thing that I would do. And I think these are I'll probably end up doing these as knots, French knots probably, and maybe some beads added into them is what I'm pondering. And maybe a mix of a blacky bluey thread. Probably doesn't actually require me to draw all the circles on, and I'm certainly not doing them exactly to the image. The leaves sort of have a bit of a rough edge around them. And then there's the prickles that we always had to avoid, the prickles of the blackberries. And in summer in Australia, you have to keep an eye out in the wilds for the snakes as well. We'd always have our gumboots on. We'd often then at my uncle's farm go and puddle around in the river. I remember he had quite a rusted out old sort of like canoe type boat, and we used to, it was not even a big river really, it was more of a little stream, but we had great times puddling around in that and playing with the rocks, my brother and I. We're 18 months apart in age, so yeah, we were pretty close growing up. He now lives in Western Australia, got a family, so we don't get to see each other, but we definitely just sort of pick up where we left off when we do catch up. Neither of us are big talkers on the phone actually, so it's quite funny. Even Mum says that to me. She's like, you just don't really call that often. But we went out for a lovely lunch with Mum and Dad today, so that was nice. And then had a lovely afternoon tea with Alex's parents, which is nice quality time in person. So I might peel off the design and just see what else I might need to sort of add in now that I have taken it off. As you can see, I've just sort of given it the sort of sketchy look, and then hopefully you can see it. Yep. And so I can always just fill in anything else that kind of needs it. Although I like I don't think I need to go as thick as the design in terms of those little spiky bits. Don't know what that is. And then this bit coming over here, it's got some little spikes on it, some more little spikes. Just adding some more of the little spiky sort of details. And that will be and then we'll do the French knots around here. And that one, sorry, it's actually a different orientation, isn't it? I'm just looking at it thinking, why is that one at that angle? And then that one was just coming out from the vine there. And then I might draw a few more veins on the leaf. Here I'll just give the leaves a bit more of a rough edge. Here I'll just shape this leaf a bit more, the one that's coming over. And in fact, in the design, it's actually sort of, the leaf is kind of twisted, and so I do need to give this more of shapes of like that. I'll fix that up when I'm stitching it. Here I need to just give my leaf that sort of rough edge, sharp edge. But yeah, I like this little nibbly bit where something's nibbled out the leaf. So that will be my blackberries. And then I have hand drawn out what I want for my dandelions flying. So here, and I might draw some more flying ones on it. And again, do I want this? Might have that coming across on a bit of an angle too. Just check you can still see, yes. Yes, I might have my dandelion stem coming up and then have them going something like that. So I think again this I'll do as a bobbly little sort of centre, but I'll just do it round at the moment. And then the idea would just be to have sort of graduating, some longer, some shorter, some longer, some shorter. And then little sort of tips on them that have multiple little legs. So I think at least sort of 5 on each one. And again, this will be something I just kind of improvise a bit as I stitch, but just giving myself a bit of a guide to start and just making sure I kind of get the scale right when I start stitching. And then have the stem sort of come over like that. Have another one coming down here. And that will be my sort of centre bit. And then these ones, just put the lines on first. So originally I was thinking I'd have to use quite a dark fabric for these to show up, but I think the key will be to use quite a bright white for the little flying bits. And I think I need to put the little dots on the bottom of them. So I'll probably end up with a little single sort of French knot or something at their base. And then they'll be flying out like that, again with longer and shorter little stitches as the fly bits. So it's probably a bit hard to see at the moment, and I probably do need to put, maybe even put some white, direct white behind there to make it easier to see. But that's going to be, let me stand up again and make sure I am in frame. That's going to be my little design. And then, yeah, maybe our little descriptions, I could or even have print those on, because they'll be probably too small to be able for me to be able to stitch properly. But I could have dandelion puffs floating skyward up there. And then I could have my fingers and mouth stained with wild blackberries maybe sitting down here. And then I could have my adorned in daisy chains. So I think that's gonna, yeah, I'm pretty happy with that as a bit of a concept. So now let's select out some of our threads. So I pulled out some whites, because I'll need whites for some of the daisies. So for the daisies, I was thinking maybe this one. So I think that will give me a nice, it's got almost a little bit of a fluffiness to it. So that could be quite nice for that. That's a Finca Vintage number 8. I'll need a yellow, and they do also sometimes have a little bit of pinkiness, and I'll need a nice green as well. Now for these, I was thinking either a really thin crochet type thread, which could be good, either like that or this vintage one. Most of my crochet threads are from vintage lots, so I'm not even sure what some of them are. Let's just take a look at this one as well. So this one, this one's slightly thinner, I think. So either of those could be good for that. Or I've also got this one from the lovely Kathy at Kamah's, Kamahs Creations. She sent me some beautiful, it's art silk embroidery thread, and it's beautiful and fine, and it's got, if you can see, it's got a beautiful twist and a beautiful sort of glisten and sheen to it. So I might even have a play with that as well. So that's another possibility, or maybe even using one of the threads for the longer bits and then using one of these for the little very delicate end bits. So I'll keep those out. Then I will grab over my yellows and let's have a bit of a ponder what we think would be a good yellow for the center. I'm sort of going here on the memory but I could have a look on my iPad as well while we're going and just have a look at what it looks like daisy chains are in terms of their colour in the centre. Daisy chains, flowers. So we've sort of got yellows like that. So it's a yellowy green kind of by the look of that. So maybe not that colour. That could be good. It's quite a bright yellow, so we might give that one a go. I can always mix in a slightly greeny one if I've got a greeny yellow in my greens. And then the green of the daisy chain is, I might use one of my other fine ones, or I could use a thicker one. These ones look actually very similar in colour. But I think this one could be good, or I could use a variegated if I wanted a bit more visual interest. I might grab both of those ones out. I've also got, oh, this one's quite nice too, but probably not quite green enough. I also got lots of embroidery threads, like regular flosses and other things as well. Got some of these interesting things which I've been meaning to play with. I'm wondering how they'd go as stems, so I might just grab one of those out. Don't know how easy they are to kind of get out. I might just choppy D one of those. I think they'd have to be couched down. Oops, I'm getting silk thread catching on my rough hands. So I'll keep one of those out. And just having a look at what else I've got. Oh, that could be good later when we get to blackberries. I just found something else while I was looking around. And then I've got all my lovely mixy colours in here as well, so that's where I might get some good. I think, is that one that I dyed myself, or is that a cottage garden thread? Not sure. That's a regular embroidery floss, but specially dyed. Oh, that's one that I did, but it's got a bit more blues in it. The other thing is I could also create my own, especially if I wanted those little sort of pinky bits. Although in the pictures I'm looking at, I can't see the pinks, but I know the daisies I used to use, they did sometimes have pink under the side of them. That's a yellow orange, probably not that for the centre. And then is there anything I'd want for my blackberries? You do sometimes get some other little colours in the blackberries when they're not fully ripened. But they're generally a bluey, blacky colour. So no, I think that's enough out of that lovely box of goodies. And okay, so we've got what we think we might need for our daisies. We've got some good whites because we really only need whites and then a green stem for that, which again I might be able to use that, or I can grab out a different green. I've even got some other lovely greens here as well. These are some vintage made in Denmark. I keep those out to have a play with. And then the blackberries, I'll probably start by looking in my blues, but then I think I might have a look in my blacks as well. So I want either a very darky one, so let's just do a bit of compare and contrast of these ones. These two look pretty the same, so I might just grab these two out. Ooh, and is this a black or is it a blue? Looks pretty black to me. This lot back in my little drawers next to me. It's so handy having these close by, and I think that's why I'm always reaching for my crochet threads, is they're so easy to get. And then I'll grab out this black as well. One's an anchor, one's a finker. Probably doesn't really matter. I'll actually just pop this one out because it's already unwrapped. And I was thinking maybe for my blackberries I'd actually like mix if I'm doing the French knots, I either could do a range of knots, probably a range of knots actually in different colours, but use some of the blue and some of the black. But maybe I do even mix in a bit of this sort of purpley red, because with the blackberries, let me see if I can find a photo to show you what I am thinking of. Isn't it funny that the iPads or the iPad case has a magnet in it, so sometimes it always kidnaps my needles and then I wonder where they are. Blackberries photo. Let's see. So yeah, this is kind of what I'm thinking of, where they get some that are lighter colours mixed in with the darker colours, but even the sort of blackiness. So yeah, I think I'll plan for a mix, and I think I can probably even use most of it, probably just not the lighter colour, but that will be fun. So I think that is probably enough. I do have a plan for a second project for this, but I'm planning to do it as the second week for our stitch along as well, so I'll do a separate video on that, I think, just to avoid confusion. So in the next video I reckon we can come back and start stitching into this. So what I'm thinking I will do before then, and I can do this evening while I'm awaiting our stitch along, is work out which bit of the underlying fabric I want it to be sitting over the top of, and then I can stitch this fabric down to that other piece, because that way as I then stitch these elements, the two pieces will be combined together. But I think that is going to work, but I'll just have a play around and probably position these so they're a bit more in the white spaces, for example, of this piece. So this one, for example, I might position so it sits in this white space over here. Not sure if you can see all of it now. This one, so it sort of sits somewhere. I'm not too worried with the blackberry, because blackberry always tends to grow amongst other plants, and even the daisy could be kind of growing out amongst another plant. So I think that will be okay, because these will come up from the piece when I'm stitching them as well. At the moment they're just sketched in quite lightly. So I hope that's given you some ideas. It might have given you an idea to think about your own lazy summer days of your childhood, and I'd love to hear in the comments what you're either doing for this lazy summer days, or if you do have memories, if this has evoked memories for you of your summer childhood experiences. That would be lovely to hear about those too. So thanks for watching, and I'm sure I'll be back soon to get stitching into this. Take care everyone, and really appreciate you being here. Bye.